Hello and welcome to YouTube's favorite comic book channel, Cartoonist Kayfabe. My name is Jim Rugg.
I'm Ed Piscor.
Before we dive into this Prisoner Artist Edition that I have waited for a long time, as I will show you, I want to remind everybody that we will be at Heroes in June in North Carolina. That's the middle of June, coming up in a couple of weeks. We will be bringing lots of our back catalog of comps, art, prints, all the good stuff that sometimes is very hard to find in stores. So if you come out to Heroes, make sure you look up Cartoonist Kayfabe, take some pictures, and spread the good word about a great comic shop. I also want to remind everybody that we are starting to gear up for Cartoonist Kayfabe Comic Book Christmas in July. The last Saturday in July, we take our comps, we take our doubles, we take some good comics, and we go out to the local lending libraries and stock them with comics. Let's make some new comic book readers. We did it last year for the first time, had all kinds of participation, saw thousands of photos and hashtags of everybody watching the channel. We have a great audience out there. I know that some of you guys have bought doubles of books by accident. I know that lots of you are creators and have your own comps. Go out and spread those around your local neighborhood, and let's try to grow some new comic book readers with Cartoonist Kayfabe Comic Book Christmas in July. So, Ed, they released a Prisoner Original Art Edition, basically a comics artist edition of The Prisoner. This is one of my favorite TV shows. I started watching this probably when we started hanging out, because I remember it was the very first house I lived in with my wife when I got married, so we're looking at like 02, 03 time period. I got a DVD box set, only 17 episodes of this thing, and I would watch like one a week, man, and just loved it. Loved it so much, I wanted there to be like a Prisoner anthology of all my friends and comic book artists making their own Prisoner stories, because I think it's such a good hook. And went on eBay whenever I heard that there was one of these things. And before their artist edition existed, I actually bought a photocopied set of this comic because I was such a Prisoner mark. And whenever you hear that Jack Kirby is the artist behind this, could it get any better? So imagine my delight whenever we opened up a mailbag and found copies of the Prisoner Original Art Edition.
Ask not what Cartoonist Kayfabe can do for you. Ask what you can do for Cartoonist Kayfabe. And 2 copies of the Prisoner Artist Edition come through. It's an expensive book. It's slight of page, you know, it's not so much. It's not even 100 pages, I don't think. It's very expensive. So I was never going to buy it.
Right.
But thank you so much to the anonymous Kayfaber whose name we did not get permission to put on the air. But we see you, we thank you, and we made an episode based on this shit.
So strange that they do 2 versions of this, but they never quite make it to publication. So I think about the Jack Kirby version, and this is like a 70s project for him.
Yeah.
Which puts it in line with like the 2001 Kirby series.
Right.
And I feel like there are overlaps. Like the concept of Prisoner is similar to 2001 in that it's a basic concept that you can just apply, right? This guy's being held against his will in this village. Unclear who's holding him prisoner and not even clear exactly why. Man, I would have loved to have seen him go through that.
Patrick McGoohan doesn't know why.
Right.
Yeah. That's the whole thing with that goddamn show, man. Is like they create a good hook and it doesn't go anywhere.
No, it varies a lot. Like the best episodes are tremendous and the ones that are aimless are very aimless. Also, McGoohan, perfect for a Kirby character.
I think so.
This episode is brought to you by the Cartoonist Kayfabe Patreon. 3 different levels will give you access to our videos before anyone else sees them to give you a leg up on the Kayfabe effect. And at the King Kayfaber level, you actually sit in on our recording sessions. This episode is also brought to you by the books that we make. You see our bibliography in front of you right now. In addition to all of these books, Ed Piscor's Red Room Crypto Killers, the new season of Red Room is now out. Issue 1 is available now. Issue 2 cover here. There are also a clip of variant covers by Ed, Peach Momoko, me, and many other great artists. The other big book that Ed is releasing later this year, Hip Hop Family Tree, the Omnibus, collecting all of the Hip Hop Family Tree strips in one handsome 500-plus page volume, including over 100 pages of new material. That'll be out in time for the holidays. Got to pre-order it now so Fantagraphics knows how many to print. There's also an omnibus collection of X-Men Grand Design coming out later this year. Again, pre-order that one today. Let them know how many you need because some of the X-Men Grand Design 3 volumes are out of print. So get that one big, handsome collected volume. My next big book later this summer, Street Angel, Princess of Poverty from Image Comics. This is available for pre-order now. Collects all of the Street Angel comics that are not in Street Angel Deadliest Girl Alive. Also available in back in print from Image Comics. You can also pick up my Hulk Grand Design with the fluorescent green cover. You cannot miss it. As well as Plain Jane's, the first young adult graphic novel. And now back to our program. He has that brow that just looks like it's right out of a Kirby drawing. And
look at this imagination.
Oh man, it's beautiful.
There's so much I love about it. I love that he's just stacking iconography to like make the background. It's almost like clip art. Like, let's just put some fucking umbrellas. We'll put this kind of structure. It's flat, you know. We'll put a little obelisk or whatever. This thing, like, what the fuck is that? Like a kayfabe car with hard edges and shit. But it
Don't
still
sleep
looks
on our
cool.
pirate in the foreground here. Parrot just sitting in the exact right on the edge of the artist's drawing table.
Some bas reliefs. This is real messy. That's a very surprising set of marks from Royer.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. And I think I learned about this through the Jack Kirby Collector is where I first would have seen this. And I mean, I was just eating it up. It was like a lot of stuff coming together at the same moment. See that great panel here?
Looks like McGoohan.
And this is your intro. You know, like if you watch The Prisoner, this is kind of the opening credit sequence that sums up his resignation and then being drugged. And this is cool too, like watching like what is inked, you know, what is lettered.
Yeah, it's like, hey, roll your pencils down, man. This shit ain't happening.
Yes,
we're
exactly.
done. We're done now. And it's so funny, comics, because like they need you to feel like you're getting something substantial, you know. So it's like all this stuff, but like the beauty of that intro of that TV show is you don't need none of that.
It's so brisk.
And it's so clear, and you don't need none of that. But like we're gonna put Marvel pathos over top of it.
Yeah.
From Steve Englehart.
Oh no, this first one's Kirby. Englehart's the Gil Kane piece.
Oh, that's cool.
These are Kirby's words. Like this is whenever he goes back to Marvel. Like I said, it's like that 2001 because it's him. You know, it's him thinking he had something to say about this, and I wish it would have gone on because I think he could have killed it with this concept. But now we're in the village. Like this is like an episode now that Kirby's coming up with as opposed to adapting an episode. And it's great to see it in the 4-color reproduction of his pencils.
Totally.
And it's kind of cool to see like Royer's lettering, right? Like now we're even getting pencils down whenever it's partially lettered. And, you know, let's bold a couple, do the bold words first.
You're learning something about Royer's process. It's
really
beautiful.
interesting. I was thinking about this series because I haven't watched it in a long time, probably almost 20 years. And there were so many good episodes. There's one about a computer that's essentially an AI kind of story, which is kind of funny. And you have some Kirby tech. But there's also one where like there's disinformation being sent around. It's like a conspiracy theory kind of episode. And I forget the word they used for it. It's been a while since I saw it. But it was such a great concept to me. It was the first time I'd really seen that where like he's spreading the disinformation around, fake news kind of thing. And almost turning the village against number 2, who was the guy that was usually the antagonist against number 6. I am not a number.
I am not a number.
That's amazing. That almost doesn't look like a Kirby hand in those pencils, do you think?
I know what you mean.
Doesn't it look a little bit different than what I'm used to? It's not as
this kind of stuff.
hard lined. Yeah, he's feathering some stuff, which is kind of cool to see Kirby thinking, you know, a little differently on a project at this stage in his career too.
Look at that, a flat image in perspective, and still it looks good.
Very bizarre. That's such a cool piece. It's almost like a Hall of Mirrors Nightmares with the little McGoohan in the 3D form. I was always surprised when I used to buy those Kirby collectors at just how rendered his pencils were.
Yeah.
Like I always assumed they'd just be like roughs because you see those. You see them in Ditko and you see them in Buscema pencils.
Totally. And inking over top of that pencil, like that's not, you can't guarantee that ink's going to stay down. You know, like that is a very soft lead. So when you clean up that page, I imagine that it must pull up some ink because the ink sits on top of the lead.
That's a good point.
There's a reason why a lot of guys would just put the X's. It's almost at the request of the inker who's like, "Fuck, dude, now I gotta clean this up."
Yeah, you can imagine him just the side of his pencil filling in all of this stuff,
and it looks meticulous. You know, like
does.
there's very little Jack Kirby drawing video footage. You know, there's that Doctor Doom piece where he's holding Doctor Doom's holding the mask and stuff, and Jack Kirby is not fast. You know, he puts a lot of time into this stuff. It's just like he had that patience to sit there all day and night.
Yeah, I love this panel. I would play around inking that if I were
any of these, man. See, this is another one of those, like, did Kirby do that? It's like Alcala is on that or something.
Yeah, it's wild. It really does feel like he's trying something different with this. And like I said, the concept of just number 6 constantly trying to escape or to learn where he's at, I feel like Kirby could add a lot of fun with that.
I don't think we saw the little ball thing in
No,
the
we
Kirby
didn't.
episode,
We didn't.
unfortunately.
This is another fun piece. So this is Gil Kane. You know, I don't know if Marvel wasn't happy with the first adaptation or what, but you see it's Stan Lee Presents, so this is still Marvel, presumably with the license trying to figure out how to do this. And this is the Englehart script. You know, you can see it in the credits just penciled in, but you get to see Gil Kane constructing his figures, which I don't know if there's a guy who's more into that part. It's certainly a part of what I think of when I think Gil Kane. It's all those figure studies that he would warm up with, and man, you can see it. And he's so good with like suits and folds and clothing.
Yeah, he's almost drawn himself as in the McGoohan role, man. If you know what Gil Kane looks like.
Yeah, it reminds me of whenever we talked to Gary Groth and we were talking Gil Kane a little bit. This is what I would love to see more of Gil Kane doing. You know, like playing outside of the superhero genre and getting to kind of like do fabrics and folds and regular people and kind of intriguing storylines.
He had a lot of internal glass ceiling kind of mentality and stuff, and just like because he really wasn't pushing outside of the genre, he talked about that was his limitation, that like, you know, he's stuck in genre, can't get out of it.
Look at the dynamic figure running at us. That's a hard pose to make look good.
Very clean.
Very clean, and then like, is this a letter doing a first pass and marking in lettering guides?
Right, yeah, that's a good question.
And then like, that's a really dark blue.
Yeah, that's photo blue.
They don't make it like that anymore.
Unless, you know, like actually the pencil that I use is this kind of blue. The blue pencil that I use is not non-repro blue. It's like this, but I just have a light hand.
I see so much Howard Chaykin in some of these faces. Makes me wonder if like, was this when he was an assistant?
Right. It'll be things like this, like some of this like little busyness up there. You could picture that on top of Reuben Flagg.
Absolutely. Yeah, not far off from a Reuben Flagg design, especially in some of the panels.
So zombie-like.
I love the paranoia of the eyes.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. Like, how do you adapt this series? And certain things like the atmosphere is what you've got to figure out how to get on the page. Great Dutch angle.
The Prisoner feels like it's like a step toward what I would call, you know, the modern day golden age of television, where like it had that hook, but because it was still steeped in that old presentation model of just like so formulaic, and every episode has to end the same way because, you know, they're going to be out of order in syndication and stuff.
Yeah. Your bubble's coming.
Yeah, there he is. It looks pretty weak. It's very small. Like you need more stuff to contrast it with. But like the idea of the Prisoner, I just like absolutely love. But it's the execution. I'm too used to Sopranos and like shit where it's like it's really building to something. You know, I couldn't even get down with Lost because it was like, okay, I know this ain't really going anywhere. These guys are kayfabing as they go.
Huh. That's a really good likeness here.
Pretty good.
This is so clean. I wonder, does he not do like underdrawing or anything? You don't see any kind of marks showing up in this.
I think that, like, based on the blue, actually I meant to say this before when we first were talking about it, the reason I brought it up. I think maybe the pages can be manipulated a little bit. Like maybe it is a non-repro blue and then they bump up the levels and maybe that makes the underdrawing disappear. Or maybe he lightboxed, you know, because it's one line.
It's so confident.
It's one line, so like maybe he lightboxed his underdrawing.
Yeah, I'd be very curious about it because like there's almost no building up of figures.
That might be what Chaykin was responsible for in the Gil Kane studio, is like transferring the smeary stuff to like the final inkable board.
I always loved how Gil Kane would do fingers.
Good
fingers.
Like
hands, like you'd get the knuckle in there. And then supplemental material. So to your point, Ed, about how this is not very long, I don't know the page count on this. I didn't notice page numbers on this, but I wonder if this is that period in the 70s where they would like maybe throw in a reprint or something in the back.
Yeah, 17
and you get 17 pages, because that Kirby story is definitely like a 17 pager. This is the All Reds doing the inking and coloring on this version. Or maybe just the coloring.
It
looks like consistent.
Yeah, it's inked by
Royer inks. Colored by Mike,
not Laura. I am at a number.
And then an inked version of our title page. Look at that hand.
Real busy. Like you saw. Can you go back to it real quick? It was very sort of meticulous, and then Leo Loha's style kind of just added a lot of fuss to it.
Yeah, it really does. Almost like a finisher or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost a different car. Like,
really
look at
Dick
the
Giordano's it up.
completely changes the car.
Yeah. It needed it. Can you go back again? Because look, that's so. Leo Loha like really did wonders for it. Because like that's just some fake funny baloney bullshit.
And it's terrible, both of them, compared to the actual show, because he has a very unique car, and this just doesn't quite
And
get
like
it.
a roadster or something. It's
Yeah.
like real long.
I think this is closer, but I think that he keeps like the proportions,
yeah.
and so you don't quite get the full effect of what that car looked like.
There's nothing you could do about that with what they had laid out with the lettering and stuff. And this is, I guess, a cover for a Baycon or whatever that, some comic convention. That's sad. You got to let it go, Steve. You got to shave it off, man. It's gone.
Yeah, this is kind of cool to see some of the background of them trying to put this thing together. You see like the episode guides and stuff. This is something to Ed, you mentioned that the episodes would run in whatever order. So like if you go to Wikipedia or something, you'll see proposals of what order it should be in. Like the first episode and last episode are very clear, but then those in between parts a little bit harder to figure out. Look at this cosplay. Fourth World cosplay. That's amazing.
It looks like Red Room.
It does. That looks like something out of a horror movie.
Yeah, it's total like Pulp Fiction inside the back of the fucking gun store type shit.
That's okay. So here's an awesome supplement. The actual typed script, which is all the formats for the scripts always surprise me.
Yeah.
And then the lettering.
So you don't have to go back and forth. Excellent way to pad out more pages into this thing to.
And lettered by Rick Parker, which makes me think this was probably done after the fact, like maybe for this. Well, maybe for this edition.
Interesting.
Because I think this was done. I assumed it was done in the 70s. I don't know if there was a date on there. Maybe I'm wrong. But I was thinking it was the same time period, and just something didn't work out with the Kirby version, so they went a different route.
I noticed like a version of this with the X's on the piece. Like I thought, but I thought he was just calling out the X's to have like a shadow on the face or something.
This is what happens in the opening. This is totally from that opening sequence.
They X
They
out
do,
his face,
because they pull his card out of like the the file of agents, and then they X him out and throw it in the garbage.
I know they made some like late period prisoners, like since we were buds and stuff. I just really would love to have like a real story with that, and
they made one for
some
TV, and I remember being disappointed in it and not watching the whole thing. And it's kind of after the fact, like a different set of characters, I think, because it wasn't, McGoohan wasn't playing. It wasn't like a redo exactly.
Right.
And then they also did, I think Vertigo did like a DC, or maybe it was just DC, did a Prestige format 4-issue run.
Yeah, Dean Mott or Mr. X.
And same thing, like it just didn't, not for me.
Yeah, people are into the comic, but like nobody is able to pull it off. It's like Apocalypse Now. Nobody was ever able to adapt Heart of Darkness.
And this gives you some more idea of just what this show was, because it is kind of a cult show. It was definitely highly regarded in terms of TV and really doing something a little bit different and adventurous. So give some context on putting the show together. And look at this we talk about like how tall figures are. That's a tall figure.
Yeah.
That is about 12 heads tall, 14 heads tall.
Yeah, those are some lanky, minute bull type arms.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Bill Walton as the prisoner right there. And of course, you get the nice biographies in the back of an artist edition.
Let me see this real quick, man. Fucking Gil Kane got death masks and shit. That really looks like Bern Hogarth. I know he's a big proponent of the Hogarth school of anatomical drawing and stuff.
Be seeing you. So shocking to me that this exists.
So cool.
Considering my fandom, it was like this is one of those Matrix objects of like, am I dead?
Right.
Am I in between something and now I'm dreaming that this exists?
Embarrassment of riches.
Totally.
We get, and I think that's indicative of us becoming older and crustier, and people of our peer group in more positions of power to make things happen.
Yes, I think you're right about that, because it's definitely received sort of bumps throughout history, and I think you're right.
So we take it where we can get it, man, because we've aged out of the the movie going demographic. They don't make movies for us anymore. We're not 18 to 35 or whatever, but the books still keep coming, man. So
they do.
We have that to rest on. Kfabers, like, follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell so that we can notify you when new videos are available. couple of weeks from now, as of this recording, Jimmy and I are going to be going to Heroes Con 2023 at Charlotte, North Carolina. Hope to see you there. If we do, put that Cartoonist Kayfabe shirt on, man. Fly the Kayfabe flag. Look forward to seeing you guys down there in NC. We're also gearing up for Cartoonist Kayfabe Comic Book Christmas in July. This is an initiative where Jimmy and I have rallied the troops, and we want all of you guys to take your comic book doubles. If you're a cartoonist, take your comp copies and sprinkle those around town in those little free lending libraries that we have in our neighborhoods and around the city. We need to create more comic book readers. We can't sit around and complain about it. We have to do some action items. This is something that has come to mind. It was a great success last year when we did it. It's always the last Saturday in July. And it's something that we're probably going to do for the foreseeable future. So, second annual Cartoonist Kayfabe Comic Book Christmas in July. It's a mouthful, and it's happening last Saturday of July. But the videos are brought to you by the books that we make. So, Jimmy, please tell the people what you got going on.
Street Angel, Princess of Poverty will be out later this year from Image Comics. It collects all of the Street Angel comics that are not in Deadliest Girl Alive. They just reissued a new edition of Deadliest Girl Alive. So if you guys missed that one at home, you can pick that up again. Hulk Grand Design Treasury Edition is also available now. Fluorescent green, oversized cover. No excuse to miss that one in your local comic shop. And the first young adult graphic novel, The Plain Janes, is still available in print. And you can join me on patreon.com/JimRugg, where you can see the comics that I am working on right now and serializing there weekly.
Hip Hop Family Tree Omnibus is coming to stores in time for the holidays, coming around October. Plenty of time to wrap it up in a bun and gift that to somebody this Christmas. It's going to collect the 4 volumes of Hip Hop Family Tree that are out there, 500-plus page book we're looking at this point. 140 pages of material that is brand new, strictly for this volume, and a lot of new artwork done strictly for this volume. Also, X-Men Grand Design Trilogy trade paperback is going to be coming into stores. It's going to be trade paperback size, like your typical Marvel TPBs. X-Men Grand Design, some of these volumes are out of print, so you're going to get all 3 volumes inside one handy-dandy softcover edition. And the focus right now is Red Room Crypto Killers. It's my latest season of Red Room Comics to see the light of day. Issue 1 came out in May. This is the cover to Issue 2. Murder on the Dark Web for Fun and Profit is the name of the game. In Red Room Comics, there are 2 trade paperbacks of Red Room out there in the wild right now. One is called The Antisocial Network. The other is called Trigger Warnings. Support our books. Keep the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel coming to you on a regular basis. And there are other ways to support the channel. Jimmy, let the people know.
Subscribe to the Cartoonist Kayfabe newsletter at the links below this video. You can also find Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts, merchandise, cups, fanny packs, stickers, and more at our spread shop. That link is also under this video.
All great ways to support the channel. Give them those marching orders, Jimmy, and we'll be on our way.
Read more comics.